Howdy, and welcome to another episode of I Do Things. On today's thing, I'm going to be doing a battery test for this Ecoflow Glacier cooler. For those of you that don't know, the Glacier is a pretty sweet cooler. Not only is it a powered refrigerator or a powered freezer, but also offers you the option of dividing it into a refrigerator and freezer with a removable divider. As mentioned, this is a powered cooler and can be run off of your normal house wall outlet, a vehicle 12-volt outlet, solar panels, or something super cool about this is it actually has its own rechargeable battery. Some of you sleuths may have noticed that this thing has a built-in ice maker. It doesn't make ice alone in 12-volt mode or with the battery. However, you can use those two to make ice, or it will make ice when plugged into your wall outlet. The battery is sold separately, but if you purchase one, Ecoflow is claiming that you can get up to 40 hours of life out of a single charge. I'm gonna go ahead and test these claims running in freezer mode and fridge mode to give you a slight benchmark, and you can make your own decision. Here we are, it's Thursday, 8 a.m. Actually, it's 8:20. Just unplugged this thing from the wall. We're showing 100% charge, or 44 and 8. We got the freezer and the fridge, the divider in there. We're about to head out on a 10-hour drive from South Texas to North Texas. We're going to leave this thing on battery power at 44 and 8 for this entire trip. I'll show you what we got in there once I get it loaded down. It's just going to be back of a Ford Explorer. So it'll be climate controlled. It's kind of overcast, early March, so it's not exactly hot out, but we'll give this battery a nice little test. Alright, it took us about 8 minutes to get it loaded. The lid was open for most of the time. Show you we're almost packed to the gills. Got our sour cream, salad, grapes, some little protein snacks. We made some chili down there on the bottom. We also have milk, fresh thing of milk. Where we're headed, everything's expensive. So we got some of the necessities in here. We're going to be cooking some lasagnas. We got some frozen lasagnas. Yogurts for snack, cheese for the chili, that's what the sour cream's for. Girl Scout Thin Mints, because that's a must. Stick those in the freezer. Got some Uncrustables down there. Used almost every inch of this. We might pack something else in there, and like I said, lid was open the whole time. We didn't lose a lot of heat. That's pretty good. Everything closes. And we are going to load it up and hit the road, but that's what we've got in our fridge freezer for now. We're gonna run about 10 hours, 12 hours off a battery. It's at 100%. Let's see. All right, so this is our first time to check in on the cooler. It's 4:35, so it's been 7 hours. You can see I've used about 33%, so I went ahead and bumped things up to 48 and 26 on the fridge and freezer size as opposed to 44 and 10. Going to try to get the most battery life out of this thing. Hopefully this helps. I didn't want it to go dead overnight, but as you can see, that's where it sat while we went in and slept. I'm checking on the cooler the next morning. It's been about 24 hours, and as you can see, it's at 48 and 26 our settings. However, the fridge is colder. It's at 39, and we didn't use very much. We used 17% overnight. We got some moisture buildup around the edge up there, but there's still frost in the freezer side. Everything appears to be frozen. The lasagnas were hard. Our sandwiches were still hard, and we didn't use very much battery. So we're going to go ahead and get on the road. We're going to leave our settings at 50 and 26. All right, so after about 5 hours of driving, we made it to our final destination. On 3% in 5 hours, that's not bad. The refrigerator appears not to have even kicked on. It's still colder than our set temperature. You can see there's a little frost on the lasagna. Our yogurts ended up freezing even though they're not touching the cooling element. Everything on the fridge side is still cool. That's pretty awesome. We made it 24 hours on 53% of battery. So I'm just gonna send it and put some ice on the freezer side and try to run this battery dead at these same settings. Okay, we're checking on it here. Open the lid, you can see my cup of ice. I've still got some ice buildup around the sides of the freezer. That's a good sign. Also, our ice didn't melt in the cup, and we've knocked it down to 3%. I'm going to call this a win for 48 hours on 97% of battery and say the battery's dead. We opened it a couple times to get food out along the way, but if you keep your cooler at 50 on the fridge side and 26 on the freezer side, there's a good chance you can get more life than 48 hours. Seeing how we started ours pretty aggressive, way down low at 44 and 10, I think were our initial settings, which leads me into my next segment. I'm going to turn it on here. I charged the battery overnight. We're at 100%. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my settings before I head out this morning. You can see 100% right there. Right now the cooler's at 50 each side. I'm going to set it at 44 fridge, 24 freezer, and just let this thing sit and not open it. I'm going to go ahead and put another cup of ice in there here in a second, but for this video you can see where I put my settings, and it's already starting to cool down. It's 9:20 in the morning. We'll check on it tomorrow. And here we are checking on it tomorrow. It's 6 in the afternoon, so we're right around the 33-hour mark. I happened to forget this thing was running. Good thing I remembered it. Turn it on real quick and you can see it's at 4% with 35 and 24. Those are pretty respectable numbers. A little cooler on the fridge side than I originally programmed. The freezer has some frost just like last time in our cup of ice. Well, it's frozen, no sign of thawing. So 33 hours on these lower settings, that's sitting in a climate controlled room without opening the fridge for a day and a half. So that's a little under our 40 estimate from Ecoflow, but with our numbers from yesterday being right at 48 hours, you can see that this thing does have life if you hit the right numbers. And as for our third test, we're going to be driving 15 hours straight. We got our energy drinks because nobody slept well last night. Everything in here is just going to be refrigerated, so we just turned it on fridge. We set it at 39. You can see the battery's almost 100%. It was when we loaded everything up. I've got it set to 40 degrees. We'll go ahead and put this thing in the car and head on to the house. And heading on we did. We arrived almost 15 hours after we started, and as you can see, we just barely used 29% of our footage. We opened this thing a whole bunch to get some drinks out and some snacks for the kids and ourselves, but it was in the climate controlled car. 30% on 15 hours. That's pretty good. If you're using just fridge mode around 40 degrees, I'd expect to get at least 30 hours at just under 0.5%, so that 40-hour benchmark is possible. You just got to watch what numbers you use these things. You can't set your freezer down to 0 and your fridge at 36 and expect that 40-hour battery life. However, if you set something a little bit higher and your foods don't need to be frozen solid, you can easily get that 40-hour benchmark. Thanks for joining me for this little test of the Ecoflow battery. Hope you found it helpful. If you got any questions, let me know. If you've liked this video, give me a like, please. If you liked it a little more, maybe hit that subscribe button. If you're interested in grabbing one of these coolers, I'll put a link down in the description. If you already have one of these coolers and you were on the fence about getting a battery, I'll go ahead and put the link to just the battery down in the description. Highly recommend it. It's worth the peace of mind.